Hey, scholars. Let's talk about design of goods and services. As you all know, there's some of the 10 operating management decisions that I think are more important than others. Design of goods and services, I think, is right up at the top of the list of critical things that as operation managers we have to do and do well. If we're designing the wrong products, if we can't compete with that product, and again, we're going to compete in three different ways, either on cost, keeping our costs down, quality, having better quality, or responsiveness to customer needs, meaning we can get the product to the customer when the customer wants it, then we're not going to be competitive and our business will cease to exist. So designing our products, our goods and services is critical to the overall success of the business. And frankly, it's critical to our success as an operations manager. So let's go through some of the critical things in the 10 pages that we read on this to make sure we've got a good lock-in of the learning here. So one of the things that's critical is the product life cycle. So when should you start planning for your next product or the next generation of the current product? Well, long before it's hit the maturity phase. The product life cycle has the four components as laid out in figure 5.2, which is introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. And we need to make sure that our products are ready for the introduction phase when the market's ready for them. We talked about the process of choosing between different options of products that we have. And one of the analyses that's typically done is a cash flow analysis. So what do we expect a product to deliver to us over the years versus the other products that we have to choose from? And it's a typical financial analysis. It's called net present value. Another version of it is called internal rate of return. But essentially what's done in these analyses is the cash that is expected to be generated from the product is calculated. That's, of course, from selling it. And then the expenses associated with that product, be they operating expenses, cost of goods sold, or capital expenses, have to be estimated. And then the product math is done. Essentially, you discount or bring that cash flow stream, inflows minus outflows, by year back to the present, and then you compare the net present values or the internal rates of return of the various options that you have, and typically you would select the internal rate of return that is the highest or the net present value that is the highest, also most interesting. And that was on page 159 of the book under product by value analysis. Bear with me here. The process on page 161, which is in figure 5.3, I thought was pretty interesting in that it lays out kind of the process of evaluating products as we're going through the process of putting them into the marketplace, from concept through to eventual evaluation. The house of quality, example 1 on page 162, as I said, that looks a little consulting-ish to me. I didn't do a bad job of it, and consulting-ish isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I spent a lot of time studying that from my perspective. Figure 5.5, we talked about the importance of operation managers continuously improving things, second law of thermodynamics, and it's laid out there with some sort of a joining device that initially cost $350 and has significant parts associated with it, to one in the third one, which cost 80 cents, and it has a lot less parts. Critical to understand that we need to be figuring out how to do things better, faster, cheaper. That's an example of it, a simple example. The one critical thing that we discussed is failure, and that we have to be willing to accept failure or something that doesn't work out as planned as an operations manager. If we don't accept that with our people, and frankly, if we don't accept it with ourselves, then we're not going to take the risk that we need to take to improve things. So there's risk associated with uncertainty. That uncertainty could lead to something that doesn't work. Well, you got to be comfortable playing in that arena as an operations manager. Bear with me here. I think that's about it. Those are the highlights of design of goods and services. Again, critical items that we need to be aware of in this operation management decision, because it is one of the most important of the 10.